Imagine you are standing on a stage you never agreed to build. The lights are ordinary, phone glow, office brightness, dinner table warmth. Yet somehow, you feel watched. Not always by people, but by an invisible audience inside your own head. So you adjust yourself. You straighten your posture, soften your voice, add the appropriate expression at the appropriate moment, as if you were playing the role of a person who is doing fine. And the astonishing thing is that you can do this for years without noticing how much energy it requires. Because you have learned how to perform living. Not living, performing what living looks like. I don't say this as an accusation. I say it with tenderness because it is one of the most common human confusions. We mistake the symbol for the reality, the map for the territory, the menu for the meal. We learn the gestures of vitality, the smile, the ambition, the correct opinions, the little nods at the right times, and we assume these gestures are the thing itself. But the thing itself is always more alive than our performance of it. And notice what I mean by performing. I do not mean merely pretending in some crude sense. I mean living as if your life were a continuous message, something being broadcast even if no one is literally watching. A message to your parents, to friends, to strangers you imagine will judge you, even to your future self. See, I did it properly. So you arrange your existence the way one arranges a room before guests arrive. You hide the mess, place the cushions, dim certain lamps, brighten others, and you walk through your days like a host offering people, and yourself, an image of how everything is. But the actual room is the one you inhabit when no one is coming. The tragedy is not that you perform. The tragedy is that you forget you are performing. You begin to believe the costume is your skin. You begin to believe the mask is your face. And then, without any dramatic catastrophe, you lose touch with the sensation of being. You become a professional human being. This happens not out of wickedness, but out of fear and out of love. The desire to belong, to be accepted, to be safe. When you are young, you are alive in the way a cat is alive, or a tree, or a river. You do not wonder, am I doing this correctly? You simply move, laugh, cry, stare at dust in a sunbeam as if it were the most important thing in the universe. But gradually, someone teaches you that you are an object. You have a name to protect, a reputation like a delicate vase, a personality with approved tools and forbidden ones. And you begin to hear the hypnotic phrase that governs so much of modern existence. What will people think? There is the spell. Because you can imagine, you begin to live in the minds of others. You carry an invisible mirror. Instead of being the sun, you become the reflection. Instead of being experience, you become commentary about experience. You eat a meal and a part of your mind says, "This is a nice meal." You walk down a street and a part of your mind says, "I should be enjoying this more." You sit with someone you love and a part of your mind whispers, "Am I loving correctly?" It is as if you hired a critic to follow you everywhere, taking notes, grading your existence. At first you think this will help, keep you on track, make you better. But the critic is never satisfied, because it is not there to help you live. It is there to keep the performance going. And performance has a peculiar hunger. It needs an audience. If there is no audience, it invents one. It turns your mind into a theater and makes a watcher out of you. So you split yourself in two. One part tries to live. The other part watches. The watcher grows anxious because it tries to control the living part, like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it escapes. You squeeze harder and call it self-discipline, responsibility, having it together. Underneath, there is a contraction, a fist you didn't know you were making. That tightening is anxiety, not always panic, but a subtle clenching against uncertainty. Because to live is to enter a world where nothing is guaranteed. So the mind attempts certainty by constructing a fixed image. This is who I am. This is what my life means. And then it tries to maintain the image. But life, like water, refuses to stay still. So you build a fortress of identity, correctness, and I know who I am. Yet the fortress is made of thought, and thought is smoke. You must rebuild it constantly. That is why you are tired. Now people ask, how do I stop performing? And they treat it as another task. I will now perform authenticity. The mind is delightful, isn't it? The moment you chase authenticity, you make it artificial. So don't fight the performance. Notice it, not as a moral issue, simply as awareness. This is the moment I am arranging myself. The noticing itself is not part of the performance. The noticing is already freedom, because performance requires unconsciousness. When you see the spell, it loosens. Ask a more interesting question. What am I afraid will happen if I stop? Will I be rejected? Ordinary? Lost? Will I disappoint someone? Will I disappoint myself? Let those fears speak without arguing with them. They are not enemies. They are tenderness looking for safety. And if you follow the fear to its root, you discover an assumption that you are a separate little someone who must earn the right to exist. That assumption creates the need to perform. So look for this someone. Where is it? When you listen, you find thoughts appearing and vanishing. You find sensations rising and falling. You find sounds arriving without your permission. And in the midst of all that, there is awareness, not an idea of it, but the simple fact of being aware. Awareness is not performing. Awareness is not trying. It is simply present. And if you rest there, not as a project, but as a simple recognition, the performance softens, like a knot loosening when you stop pulling. When it softens, you may feel something the mind finds intolerable. Openness. The mind loves fences. This is me, that is not me. But in direct experience, before you name it, life arrives as one continuous movement. And many people rush back into the theater because the theater feels safer than the open sky. Yet the open sky is your home. Consider how difficult it is to be truly alone, not lonely, but alone, without distraction, without props, without a role. At first, there is an itch, a restlessness, and the mind offers escape, a screen, a plan, a worry, anything to restore the sense of doing life. But if you remain a little longer, the itch reveals itself as a wave, and the wave passes. Behind it is a quiet that is not empty at all, full like the night sky is full like a pause in music is full. And in that quiet, you sense an extraordinary intimacy. Experience is not happening to you. It is happening as you. Then the whole idea of performing becomes comical. Who exactly would be performing for whom? The universe pretending to be a little person pretending to be alive, like a wave, anxiously rehearsing how to be a wave. This does not mean you must escape the world. Society is a dance. Dances have steps. Language is a game. Games have rules. You must coordinate and show up and sometimes restrain yourself so you don't bite each other. But there is a difference between playing and forgetting you are playing. You can be a parent, a lover, a worker, a friend, fully, without confusing these roles with your ultimate identity. You can wear the mask lightly. Lightly is the key. Worn lightly, the mask becomes art. Worn heavily, it suffocates. How do you wear it lightly? By sensing again and again the difference between direct experience and your commentary about it. Right now, there are sounds. Before you name them, they are vibrations.
There is the sensation of your body. Before you judge it, it is simply a living field of feeling. There are thoughts. Before you believe them, they are clouds passing through the sky. If you can sense this without grasping, you are already stepping out of performance and into life. Not dramatically, but quietly, the way dawn arrives. The opposite of performing is not a perfected state. The opposite of performing is intimacy, direct contact with what is, without turning it into an image. So when you drink tea, drink tea. When you walk, walk. When sorrow comes, feel sorrow, not as a character in a story about sorrow, but as the living tremor of the heart. And you will find, unexpectedly, that the more directly you live, the less you need to prove you are alive. Aliveness is self-evident, like fire is hot. So here is a gentle experiment. For a moment, let the stage go dark. Let the audience disappear. Let the critic put down his notebook. And see what remains, not tomorrow, not after you fix yourself, but now. If you do, you may notice a faint smile, your own, not performed, arising for no reason at all. Because the one who was trying so hard to be alive has finally stopped interfering with life.